All right, everybody, here we are again, doing the show, Nothing But Worry, with your hosts, Lance and Bonnie Ash. Say hello, Bonnie.
Hello, Bonnie.
And let's start by giving everybody an update. I borrowed my dad's power saw and cut that door in half and attached hinges to it, and it's too wide or too deep. So I'm going to have to cut it again so that it'll fit on the table where I planned for it to go. But other than that, I think it's going to be good. I'm gluing a piece of masonite to the surface, the drawing surface area, so it'll be smooth. Probably should have just taped it on instead of gluing it, but oh well. And pretty easy week, relatively speaking, for my job. All right, give us an update on your situation, Bonnie.
I'm still married to Lance.
And happily so.
And happily so.
Last night, on my way to work, you said something about me. Who did that? And she said, my husband. And I said, well, he sounds like a great guy. And you said, he is. And I just felt wonderful when you said that.
Now, can I have the credit card? No, just kidding.
Sure.
You read me an interesting article this week. You want to tell them about the 1950s?
Okay. There was a journalist named Vance Packard, and he wrote several books about basically changes in society, in humanity, brought on by technology and
Mass production.
economics, consumerism. His first book was called The Hidden Persuaders. And for some reason, I've been interested in this guy for a long time. I just knew the name. And I've got a collection. I've got 5 of his books, I think. And anyway, I was reading I've got a sort of high school level German reader, different, selections. And one of them was a translation from that book. And it's about how products, or I'm sorry, packaging of products to be sold in grocery stores, supermarkets, were designed to psychologically appeal to the shopper. We talked about this already on last week's show, I think.
Did we?
Pretty sure. But anyway, so I read a good bit of the article to Bonnie, and we prompted a discussion about it. And anyway, so I'm writing a song currently called Vance Packard at the Radio Station. And it's pretty good. And I think it's going to turn out really well. If I can remember how to sing the melody line when I change chords. I got something in my eye. It drives me nuts. I can't stand to have stuff in there. Bonnie, do you remember the band The Black Keys?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, anyway, I got out these Enigma Records samplers. They put out one every year for like 12 years. And on this one, number 8, they have the Black Keys song Thick Freakness, which is really, really good. And I guess now that the initial novelty of them has worn off, now it's okay for me to start exploring them, because I can't stand to get into something when it's a hot new trend.
On trend, yeah.
So,
We were talking about another trend this week. Pokemon Go.
yeah, there was something about it in
Oh, it was Saudi Arabia.
That's right, they bought the right.
bought the company, and with it they buy all of your data. Because when
That's
you
right,
download all
that's
these
right.
things to your phone, they end up accessing not just where you're at and where you've been, but they go so far as to scrub data from other apps and from your personal information. It's a very disheartening sort of thing.
Scary.
Yeah, extremely scary.
I
We heard a story this week where a guy tried to. Oh, you were telling me how Damien had his phone with him when he went from home to work each day, etc. And one day he looks down at the map on his phone and it says home and it says work. That he's never inputted this data. But it was based on the fact that he's sleeping and it's not mobile. It's not in motion, so that must be his home where he sleeps. And he follows a routine and goes to the same place on a designated schedule. That must be his workplace.
he's there for basically enough hours to make it think it's work. So
Yeah.
you know,
We don't download any apps onto our phones. We
right.
shop at Walmart and I order things on our computer. But they always want us to tell the app when we're there to pick it up. And we just call the number on the sign because I'm not putting one more damn app. The phone already comes preloaded. We've got Android phones. So they've got all these things that say, do not remove this app. It may affect the efficacy of your operating system, or your operating system may not work if you turn this off. So instead, I ended up turning off location. I ended up turning off the internet service, etc. We really don't use our phones like other people. We don't like being tethered to others. We want to have our private time private.
Yeah, and you've made a recent decision. Tell them about that.
Oh, God. I've walked away from YouTube. So I found myself watching shorts. I swore I'd never watch short videos. It's like watching TikTok, you know? But I have been so discouraged by everything going on politically that I have just needed mindless fodder. And I realized that I would stream a show, and while the show was streaming, I would open up other windows, not just to see who that actor was, or to figure out if whatever they referenced was a real thing, or if it's a... Yeah, no. I was opening up YouTube and watching shorts while streaming other shows. Because there would be a lull, and I would get bored. And I said to myself, this is ridiculous. My impetus came with the update on my blockers. I have ad blockers, yay. And one of the best ones stopped working. It expired. It got replaced. I downloaded the replacement, but it doesn't work well. So YouTube suddenly said, we're not going to let you be on YouTube anymore, etc. I found a way around it that didn't matter. Because, you know, there's like 4 ad blockers on my computer. But when I went back and I looked at my YouTube usage for the week, I had hundreds upon hundreds of clicks.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through and I erased all of my YouTube history. And then I tried to erase all of my liked videos. I couldn't do it. I had over 5,000 likes in the history of having my Gmail account.
Good
And
Lord.
yeah, it's insane. And I said, this is it. This is ridiculous. You're wasting time. You're wasting your brain power. You're getting distracted. You're getting addicted. End of last year, my friend Doug and I were commiserating about the American election. And I asked him for advice. He's an IT guy. I asked him about advice about trying to hide my browser history, etc. because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that with all the data out there that they were going to begin manipulating and start looking through data for people who were opposed to certain things.
Yeah.
And they're already doing this at border checks. They ask to see your phones. They ask to get your passwords. And now it was announced in the New York Times today, they are holding people and detaining them when they are, when their data reflects that they are in opposition to the current regime and power here in the U.S.
Or if they're
Famously.
critical of Israel's policies.
Oh, there's a lot of other things too, yeah. But Doug was like, okay, there's this friend of mine. He's a hacker activist guy. He runs a very quiet little social site. He said, I'm going to get you an invite and stuff. And so I went on it, and I tried the social media site for a couple months, and I realized I'd become completely addicted to it. I was checking in 4 or 5 times a day. And I'm somebody that has erased Facebook now as a protest. And I didn't have Facebook except to message. And here I was on this other social media site, and it was great because, they're downloading all this really cool shit. And they had like canary warnings and everything on the site to warn you about who was looking at the site. Okay?
What are canary warnings?
Canary in a coal mine.
Yeah.
Basically, they ran a constant thing to make certain that they weren't being tracked. People were not hacking their system, and that the people that were engaging with the social media site were not in any way bringing in stuff, and nothing was going out of this site. Everything had to be parsed. So the site was clean. They refused federal warrants for data, etc. So they're a cool site, but I was checking in 4 or 5 times a day, and I realized I had to give it up. And these programs out there are designed to keep you clicking on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I've decided to cut back somehow because I don't.
It's the news for you that's getting to you lately.
Well, yeah, news and politics have become so.
But you've been checking in with people you trust, and it becomes a routine because these people release videos on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday,
Well, the thing is,
so you look forward to those things, and you go, oh, such and such is on today,
Right, and but the thing is, basically, I watch people like the Logical Leftist and the Humanist Report and Sam Cedar and some other stuff,
A couple of the Brexit guys.
and a couple of the Brexit guys. And the reason is because basically I can't stand the current administration and the GOP and the Christian nuts so much that I want to hear them run down and slammed. So that's basically what I want to hear. And the thing is, they're not really telling me anything new, but they are saying what I want to hear. And maybe that's not a good way to do things. Maybe that's not productive or healthy for me.
They're reassuring you. There's this affirmation bias thing.
Well, it's like we're one of you. You're one of us.
Exactly. And that's what happened with Fox Media and its cadre of followers. And they kept feeding into this thing saying, we know where your leanings are, and we're going to keep feeding them and stoking your fears and make you think the way we want you to think by using your prejudice, etc. Everyone's got biases. Mm-hmm. And they do it on both sides, all sides of the table.
As I've said before, everybody is full of shit in some way.
Lance, you're full of shit.
Thank you. And everybody's...
And what do you say to me?
Bonnie, you're a wonderful person, and I love you to pieces.
You're full of shit.
Yeah, you're full of shit too in certain areas. But everybody is conservative also in some way.
Yeah.
Everybody's progressive in some area of society or whatever. Everybody doesn't like... I mean, not everybody likes change or... changes bother everybody, in some way or another. Certain types of changes.
Years ago, there was a thing that went around my little email circles, and one of the guys, Orlando, who works at Oracle out in San Francisco, sent me this thing. He goes, where do you stand on the spectrum, conservative to liberal? And I was dead on at 50%. And he got my results, and he was like, What the hell? I thought you were a diehard liberal progressive. I said, think about what they ask. They ask questions like, should people pull up their pants? What do you think about pantyhose and heels? And there were a lot of social things on there because they realized that, oh, if you allow certain social things to happen, then you must be either or. And the fact of the matter was, is I was brought up very conservatively. I don't think you should wear yoga pants because they look like pantyhose. You know, I've got these ingrained things. And so when I get critical about somebody coming along and thumping their music really loud, flip them off, it's like, oh, she must be, a conservative. No, I think they're a rude asshole, you know? But everybody has these biases and these preferences and such, and it's hard to escape the way you were brought up. You and I find ourselves sometimes completing each other's sentences with something religious. Like this week, you went, I have decided, and I went, to follow Jesus, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I see myself as, to a greater extent than most people, having rejected a lot of the things that my parents believed. Some people will reject it for a while, but then eventually they'll roll right around back to where they, their parents believed or taught them. And,
Then there are some people who reject things just out of hand because they want to be defiant and they don't think about why. My stepmother's a fine example. You and I are atheists. We've been an atheist couple since we met.
mm-hmm.
And so, of course, the question of religion and belief came up when talking with my parents. And my dad, for the longest time, I'm an agnostic. And my stepmom was like, oh, I'm anti-Christian, anti-Jesus. Why? Oh, I just think it's full of shit. That she didn't go any further. She had been brought up without religion. In so much as they're Pennsylvania Dutch, therefore they might be Lutheran or something, somewhere in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Or some little bit of something. But it wasn't an issue, so she never had to come up with answers as to why she was that way.
I gotta get a drink of tea. I'll be right back.
Well, take it with you and chat once you go.
Okay, I'm chatting.
Yeah, chat.
Oh, thank God.
What?
I got 3 cups made. That's perfect.
Okay.
Because I had, I don't normally drink coffee, but I got some coffee powder. Not instant, but anyway, ground coffee. And I put it into make your own tea bags. And I made 2 cups of, hold on, I drink this. But that coffee does not seem to be kicking in. I didn't get much sleep today.
No, you didn't.
So at some point I'm going to crash.
Hard.
Yeah. So, let's see what else is going on. Every weekend, my dad goes down to Eatonton, where his girlfriend has...
A condo.
Is it a condo?
It's a condo on Lake Oconee.
But it's like a vacation home. It's like a second home, isn't it? Or is that where she
No,
permanently lives?
she has permanently retired there.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, he goes down there every weekend, and I asked to borrow his saw, and he said he'd leave it on the porch for me, so I drove over there and got it. And I had to go out to Kroger, pick up a prescription for Bonnie, and I got 2 more boxes of tea bags, and had to run some stuff to the dump. Had no idea how many full trash bags we had.
Peter used to do all these errands for us, and now he's working.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different. Peter has been doing well. He's getting used to his job. His first full check came in. It was really well. It was more than twice what he's been bringing home at the other place. And he's getting used to it slowly.
I was surprised to hear you tell me that his actual hourly wage is not that much higher than it was when he worked at Office Depot. It's just that he's getting more hours, basically, right?
Yeah, they had him at 19 to 23 hours.
But
He's doing 40 hours at this place.
do you have any idea what how far up the pay scale he can move in this job?
No clue. None. Reed said that the raises, and from what I saw online at the employment apps sites, raises are paltry. They don't even meet COLA.
Does he have the option of joining a union where he works?
He said it was funny. The mechanics up there just unionized.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't, well, they previously, under the previous presidency, they couldn't block union action. I don't know.
Attempts at unionizing, which
Yeah,
you're supposed to
but-
legally, by federal law, have a right to do.
But the thing is the Labor Relations Board has been gutted. They don't have enough people to have a quorum to meet. There are a number of other groups that are in the same position or have been gutted. The administration is completely anti-union, anti-labor, and they're taking action on that. But at this point, they don't have a union, and I don't know how far the nurses go up there for the union. What's available?
Well, I'll tell you something. When we went to that crazy Christian private school, they were rabidly anti-union because that was somehow, proto-communist or something. And number one, we had a discussion about unions in some class one day, and the teacher asked, do any of you kids' parents belong to a union? And I was the only one in the class whose parents belonged to a union. And not only that,
Both my parents belonged to unions when I was growing up. Well, all of my parents, all four of them. Three of them were civil service, and one was in the restaurant business. And all of them were members of unions.
but I'll say not only that, but I actually was a member of a union. When I started working at Kroger, I was a bag boy, and they asked me, "Do you want to join the bag boy and cashiers union?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." I still got the union card somewhere around here. It's probably in one of my scrapbooks. That school was just crazy. It was a crazy.
Well, where Peter works, they make concessions trying to keep their employees happy, even though the raises aren't great. Like Reed said that she walked to work both of those snow days. She lives a tenth of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she lives in the hospital district, in one of the historic districts, and she walked to work each day, and she was shocked to see her paycheck. She went in on two snow days on 2 separate weeks, and she got $100 bump for showing up that day.
Really?
They have a thing called hazard pay.
Were at the post office, they used to give incentive awards. Like if you did something out of the ordinary.
A gift card for $50.
Yeah, well, there used to be a bunch of deaf guys that worked up there. And one of them found a piece of express mail in a sack that was supposedly supposed to be empty. He was just straightening up. And they gave him like a $25 gift card. And when I later, when I worked there years ago, they picked me to be the best mail handler for
Quarter.
whatever. It wasn't a regular thing. They just we've decided to do something out of the ordinary, special. So they gave me a $50 gift card to some steakhouse. And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I turned to the woman beside me and said, "Here you go, because I don't eat steak. I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Just give me a $25 gift card to Walmart or something like that. Not some specific restaurant."
But she ended up giving you the cash because she was
Why?
a fair type of person.
I just felt that was, give me half. If you're going to pay for it, give me half. You're not getting anything by giving me the cash equivalent. You don't have to reward me. That's not your job.
I believe if you worked with somebody whose parent died, and they had the audacity, the union had the audacity to give the guy, a fellow atheist, a Bible in his father's honor. And it was like, how fucking insulting is that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're spending $60 on some personalized thing, and you don't even bother to ask, is it that person's religion?
Right. He could have been a Muslim or a Jew or Hindu.
Not practicing like our friend, you know?
Yeah, something really irked Bonnie when our daughter was really small.
Oh, God.
My mother would babysit her sometimes. We lived down at her house, and she gave her a little white Bible, like a little Gideon type Bible. And basically she said something like, "This'll be our little secret."
Yeah.
And she also went through, if you've ever heard of the wordless book.
Yeah, that was the most insidious part of what.
And she went over that with our daughter, our little innocent daughter, teaching her about sin and eternal damnation and the man nailed to the tree and all this horse shit.
Our daughter was pre-verbal, basically. She was at most 3. She could make sentences and stuff, but she could take instructions, and she understood stories and things like that. And we went down there to pick her up one day, and Jane walked out of the room, and Reed walks over behind the end table on the couch and gets a basket and pulls out. She goes,
"Really? I didn't know that."
And she handed this, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
That is wrong.
It was a little bitty white Bible with gold trim on it and the wordless book. The Bible.
So my mother had done the shh, and she was just copying it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I took that and I had a hissy fit. And the thing about the Bible, the wordless book, it's aimed towards kids who are so little that they can't read.
That's right.
But they want to tell you about the blood, the golden streets, black sin of your soul. Why do you tell a child that they are evil? Even the Psychological Association, American Psychological Association, will tell you that children don't comprehend things in terms of right and wrong until around the age of 7.
Well,
it was insidious.
When we lived at the old house, Reed went on a ride on the golf cart with my mother, and when she returned her, she drove up in the yard in the golf cart, and she was giving Reed a hug goodbye, and she looks at me and she goes, "I wish you'd let me take her to church." I'm like, "No, that's not going to happen." And then she's just basically bawled, "You're not giving her a chance to know Jesus." I'm sorry.
She gave you a chance to know Jesus. A lot of good that did for you, darling.
It's just
mind-washing.
Well, yeah, but it's just a strange twist of fate that I had enough sense to get out of church and to get out of all that horse shit. I can't believe that but the thing is really insulting. That the Christianity specifics of it is one thing, but to go behind a child's parents, even if you are the grandparent, and try to do something secret. This will be our little secret. Don't tell your parents because, this is evil. Evil.
When the kids were in elementary school, primary school specifically, they had Easter egg hunts. I'm like, you get candy, you want to go? I mean, we don't believe in this kind of stuff. I'm not going to say you can't go and get candy, So they had these things, and they brought the candy home, and each of them laid out what it was because I wanted to see what they had, make certain there was nothing going to pull out their teeth. And they had these religious Bible verse candies. For God so loved the world.
Where was this?
This was at the primary school.
Oh, really?
It was the kindergarten through second, or kindergarten through second. And I was like, oh, this is nonsense. And I just took those and, here's the candy. Forget about the wrapper.
Speaking of which, there is a mail order catalog from a company called Vermont Country Store. And the catalogs came through the mail last night. And on the cover was a plate full of what they called chocolate-covered buttercream Easter eggs. And the first couple on the plate in the picture were sliced open. You could see the interior. They looked really scrumptious. I was like, some of them look like they have chopped nuts or something mixed in with the buttercream center. Yeah, I was like...
When I was with the library one year, we sponsored an egg hunt up there, and I didn't mind doing it. I had our kids out there hiding the stuff, and then when it was time for the egg hunt, I said, just go and make certain the little ones get their things, and if there's anything left over, you guys can have it, because they were like in middle school at this point. Mm-hmm. But that reminds me, you remember that time that the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movies came out?
Yes.
And our kids said, we want to read the books. Okay, that's fine. And I said, there's this person who wrote it as a Christian apologist, etc. And some people are going to say, oh, this is symbolic of... I said, just read them and enjoy them.
Well,
So I'm at the library one day, and Reed's friend Rebecca, her family was there. And Reed had told me that Rebecca's parents did not let her read the Harry Potter books because of witchcraft. Yeah. Okay, now mind you, they were okay with Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
So we're standing in line, and Rebecca's god-awful mom comes up behind, and she sees what we've got on the counter. She said, you do know that the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe are a Christian series. And I said, the kids will enjoy the books. There's nothing overtly religious. And I said, and we don't believe in that, so it has no power over us.
Well, first of all, I remember you telling me at the time that the mother said to you, I'm surprised you let your children read that, because that's a Christian allegory book.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the second thing is about that damn movie. What? I was thinking about this just the other night at work. The scene where Santa Claus actually shows up and he gives the children their weapons, and he says to them, now, children, these aren't toys. These are weapons for fighting evil. And I just, in the movies, when we went to see it, I just thought, this is evil. Getting Santa Claus to deliver this overtly Christian message of we must take down evil with our magic weapons. And,
well, every year, Christmas time, the internet is flooded with these pictures of, look at these idiot conservatives. It's families who take Christmas pictures, their annual Christmas picture, and they've all got guns that are children's size or pink or something like that.
That's right.
It's so offensive. You're like, what is wrong with
one of these
people?
Huge Christian families
identify
with
like
5
that?
or 6 kids, and everybody in the Christmas family photograph is holding a weapon.
Gun.
And I remember, you showed me one year, and this little boy, the rifle that he was holding was like an AR-15. It was taller than he was.
It was insane. It was, whatever he was holding was larger than he was.
Yeah. When Bonnie and I...
Oh, that reminds me. They are no longer collecting data at a national level about gun violence. Another idiocy of the Trump administration. If you don't know about it, you won't think about it.
Yeah. The first year, we hadn't even reached our first anniversary of our wedding yet. And I, over the years, have seen specially made Christmas or New Year's Day cards made by celebrities. And so I thought, let's make our own customized card. And you don't remember this?
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, what happened was...
It's been 30 long years.
Yeah, it was, Well, I was going to say, what the concept I had in mind was we attached this white sheet to the wall and drew like a viewing screen on it with planets on it. And we were going to dress all in white, and we made these helmets, like space helmets, out of boxes.
What?
Yeah, you don't remember this?
I think you've got brain
damage. No.
This is
We set the camera up on a timer on a tripod, and you and I sat in the chairs as if we were in a spaceship, looking at space, and we were turning our faces to the camera with our thumbs up. And I thought, this is going to be great. Happy New Year from your space traveling son and daughter or whatever. And the film in the camera stripped out when exposed it.
Oh.
Yeah. We tried to we filled up the roll, and when we tried to remove the roll from the camera, it caught and tore it right down the middle. Or pull it wouldn't it just pulled the tape out of the canister, whatever you call it, the roll. You don't remember this?
Not at all.
Yeah, I was so disappointed because I thought this would be such a cute and funny and cool idea.
I think you dreamed this.
No, you don't remember this?
Not at all.
Where that sideboard thing was, that wall, we had put up a sheet
Okay.
and drew with magic marker on it a screen with planets in the distance and everything.
Sorry, got nothing.
And I thought, Bonnie's so cool to go along with this, this weird idea.
That is weird.
See, I remember
I
seeing
would have been uber preggers at this point.
Yeah, you must have been. I saw one that Aerosmith did years ago, and it was the Nativity, and it was like a painting they had somebody do, illustration, and Steven Tyler was Mary, and they all had halos over their heads, and some of them were...
Dude looks like a lady, huh?
Yeah, some of them were shepherds, I guess. And then I saw another one of Mickey. It was a New Year's Day card. It was Mickey Rourke holding this little tiny puppy. And so anyway.
Nope, got nothing. Sorry.
Okay. Trying to think, is there anything else we need to go over? How much? We've been recording 37 minutes. I want to go a little bit longer here. I hope to God this drafting table works. I think it will, but it's going to require moving everything around in the playroom, and which is something I need to do anyway.
You and I were talking earlier today about having grown up during the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
We were born after the atomic bombs. We were born during Vietnam. And a lot of that Cold War ideology really stuck with us. And it's been surreal this past 2 months, watching things that were staples of our identity as a Cold War superpower being stripped away. The voice of America being silenced is the ultimate metaphor for what's going on.
China, the Chinese government issued a statement about that, saying,
pleased. They were happy.
yeah, this source of evil misinformation and propaganda has been shut down.
I remember listening to the Voice of America abroad.
I've never seen it, never heard it.
Oh, okay.
Is it just...
No, it's everything you can imagine. You start off the top of the hour, you've got your news sources, etc. I remember listening to an interview with, I think it was Bud Selig. He was being interviewed about the upcoming baseball strike that year, listening to things about the World Cup, and of course music, other interviews and special programming, and they would do regional news.
I don't know what just then.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything. I was talking.
Hold on a second. Sounds like wheels rolling over gravel or something.
Look before you open the door.
Yeah.
Lance, close the door. And always look before you open it, okay? You men take things for granted. We women...
I'm not
we
taking
live
shit for
with
granted.
You just open the door.
Well,
Without looking.
I didn't open the storm door part.
Lance, you opened the door without looking. Anyway, so Voice of America also had, if you were in the Americas, it had a program geared towards what was going on in the Americas. If you're in Africa, toward Europe, whatever. And it was like when we were young, we listened to Armed Forces Radio.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad his dad are big into ham radios, etc. And we had one when we were living in Europe. And my dad would listen to Radio Czechoslovakia. And in his study, to this day, there is a framed bookmark he got because he wrote in to Radio Czechoslovakia. And he liked listening to the music that they had coming out of the country.
What? But what is Radio Czechoslovakia? Was that like?
It was from the Soviet states.
Huh.
Yeah.
Was it propaganda? Like our glorious tractor production this year is this and that?
Well, he didn't speak Czech, so he didn't know about that. But he listened to the music that was coming out of there. Because he's a huge classical music fan.
Yeah.
And so he's still got that bookmark they sent him from Prague because he wrote in asking for it, And they would do announcements in English also. Tonight is the concert of such and such, and they would do it in a couple different languages, Czech and Russian, German, and English. And so one night they said, if you want this, and he gets a free bookmark of all things. It's made of cloth. It's got like a bird embroidered on it and stuff.
What was it free? You had to mail order it? Or?
You just basically send an SASE kind of thing.
Huh, interesting.
But
I used to.
The Voice of America was one of those things that it was like USAID. It was a certain amount of goodwill. You just put it out there. You provide information. The cultural exchange program that was done during the Cold War, we sent jazz musicians around the world to play in different countries. We sponsored art exhibitions.
That's right.
We sent Jackson Pollock paintings around the world because they wanted to say, hey, not only are we a free country, we allow freedom of expression in things because, this had grown up after Germany. Germany was known for having burned books, taken away art, and hidden it because it didn't agree with certain things. And the Soviets themselves did not allow even some of their own poets and their own writers to release books in their own languages. And the U.S. was proud of having no censorship.
But the idea was...
But the thing is, now, this week, there's more and more censorship than ever before coming out of this current regime.
Well, the thing about that whole thing with Jackson Pollock is the CIA promoted the work of abstract expressionism over in the eastern half of Europe with the idea that, see, America, and this is basically what the truth of it is, see, here in America, we're so free that we allow people to do this garbage, because they thought this is just crap art.
Now. In Russia at the same time, there was that artist, I forget his name, that was doing the black squares. You remember him? It wasn't
Malevich?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Malevich.
I think it's I can't remember his first name. Yeah.
No, Judy Garland was an ambassador of goodwill.
That reminds me. I was thinking about this last night. Under Reagan, Shirley Temple was appointed ambassador to somewhere.
Somewhere in Africa, I think.
Oh God!
But she also, I thought, had a some other type of goodwill ambassador status.
Yeah, when we were coming up, you'd have a certain celebrity, like an old-time celebrity associated with certain, like UNICEF, some particular actress or actor was associated.
Yes, Audrey
I'm so-and-so from...
Did the Children's Fund for Food or something.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn was a big
she had
advocate.
grown up in the Netherlands when they had the Dutch famines.
From what I remember, she and her mother had to flee to England.
They were literally starving.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting really sleepy. I barely slept today.
I think that's one of the reasons I'm really upset about the current actions is this whole alliance with Russia, siding with Russia against democracy.
What really drives me bonkers is the number of celebrities, actors, actresses, musicians, rock stars who are pro-Trump or pro-Republican or pro-GOP, pro-conservatism. They don't seem to realize if these people really had their way, you wouldn't have the freedom to do the kind of music or movies that you've
Good
been
night,
doing.
good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep expecting McCarthy-style hearings to pop up soon. This week, Citibank, in legal filings with regard to releasing funds, Citibank was given funds directly from the U.S. Treasury that were to be put into the account of all these nonprofit agencies. Citibank went to a court to say we need these funds released. These people are legally entitled to these. And in the court filings this week, it was revealed that funds that were designated for Habitat for Humanity have been withheld.
That's right, yeah. We're going to have to cut.
Habitat for Humanity. Because, get this, they think that it's a communist act to help provide housing for people.
Yeah. We're going to have to cut this short. I'm getting really sleepy. I'm about to pass out.
Okay.
We've reached the 45-minute mark anyway, so that's about right. All right, so that's about it.
We could talk longer, but you're tired. You need to go to sleep, okay?
I probably will. Okay, I need to make this. Okay, everybody, bye-bye.
Bye.